Hi there everyone and welcome back to your final webinar, personalised to you guys, which is called My Adapt UX. Now it's called this because the top tab in Adapt is called My Adapt. So what we're going to do is run through all of the things in that tab to make sure you're comfortable in how you're going to manage your workload from day to day. Now you'll probably know already, my name is Michelle and I'll be your trainer to run through everything today, as I have been in your other webinars. Now, we're going to look through the agenda, but before I do, I'm just going to mention that the other three webinars today are very much built on you understanding, running through key bits of the system. So adding on records in the system from everything from candidate, client, contact, and job through to the assignment record. Then we covered searching. So they're all things that you're going to be heavily doing day to day. Now, this last bit are kind of ad hoc different things. So we're going to look at things like KPIs. We're going to look at things like tasks, task management, and how you complete them and add new tasks. So they're all kind of standalone little things that when you know the other three key things that we looked at in the other webinars, these are the things that can really pull things together. And this is how you can manage your time effectively. So we're going to run through the agenda of the specific things we'll be looking at today. So first of all, we haven't really looked at it too much. We popped on it on one of the webinars, but we're going to start with looking at the home page. And it contains quite a lot of key information that we're looking at in one place. So it's a really nice place to start off. So we'll look at that first of all. We'll then run through tasks, calendar, and the journal. So the journal is your full audit trail. So those three things, we're just going to take a look at all of those and see what we can do with those. Now there's an area called the studios. So I haven't mentioned this yet, and that's because it's key you understand the other bits first of all, but the studios is such a powerful thing in the system. It's so good. So if you guys have worked with dashboards before, you'll know what these are. So they're dashboards of information. So you can see things like all of your key candidates that have come in the last week. They're all listed in one place, and you can work through them there. You can see all of your live jobs in there. You can close them from there. You can run actions through. So the idea of the studios, they're kind of like dashboards of information where you can kind of work through it, and it's really key to understand these. And then we've got things like KPIs, running reports, looking at your activity. And finally, I'll just touch on the fact that we've got a little help page in the system as well. So you can always go to that at any point. So that's enough about the agenda. Let's go and start looking through that My Adapt tab. So we're back in Adapt. I hope it's getting nice and familiar already. And do you remember this morning, in the first session here, when I went through here and kind of showed these bits here, things like the calendar, the task list, these are all the things that we're going to be discussing now. So first of all, let's go over to the My Adapt tab. You can see here we've got listed all the things I mentioned. So we're going to start off with that home page. Now in the home page in the system, first thing I'm going to point out is this, I mentioned earlier on a couple of times that we've got a favourites little button there you can add on any time in any of those key records. So I've got one contractor, Ruth, that I'm speaking to quite a lot at the moment. I'm just trying to get her placed into a particular role. So I've got her listed down here. I've got one permanent job that I'm working on exclusively with the candidate, with the client. So I've got that listed here. And I've got one client that I'm working with all the time. So the idea of these lists, like I mentioned before, you can't search on these like you can the hot candidates, like you've got people here, but these are lists of things that are changeable. So it could be, I'm speaking to Ruth a lot, so I want to click on here, go into her profile, but once I've actually placed her into a job, I would then unfavorite her from here. And now when I go back to the home page, you'll see that she's been removed from that list. So you can see how that list can change. Now, a little thing to point out as well is the history. So every record that you go in while you're logged in that session will be listed here. So if you think, oh, who was that I was speaking to earlier? If you come to the home page, it will list all the records you've been in. Now, when you do log out, that list will go. So it only shows you the history of the last logged in session you've been in. Now, on the left-hand side, we've got the calendar. So up here, this will only show you calendar appointments you've got due that day. So it can really keep you focused on that day's task. But on the home page, it will list anything due that week. So today, you can see I had a client visit at 12:54, a very specific time. You see I popped in there. And Friday, you'll see I've got an internal interview, and that's with one of my candidates. So they're coming in to register at 10 o'clock. So it's a nice place I can see all this key information. Now, Also, I've got all those 10 tasks I've got here. You can see that none were due today, but they were overdue. So they were in red. So I can see they're overdue tasks because again, they're in red. Now my tasks are in date order, as you can see. So I might have already run these tasks. Let's imagine I've already done this follow-up call. So I can click on that task there and it will open up the task for me. The status is not started. And if I've done that call already, I can go back and just go here and complete the task and the status here, sorry, save that, and that will remove that task on my list. And I can do the same thing again. So I can go to client visit. I've already attended that client visit. So I would just go in there and actually complete that, save that, and then I would go into my client and update anything I need to. Now it could be on the follow-up call to Ruth here, if I click on that, it could be that I tried to call her, but actually she wasn't available at that point. So what I might want to do from here is go and click on Ruth's like little tab there. That will take me into her profile. I could go and log the call as I normally would, so call made. Note down that I couldn't get hold of her. And then what I might want to do in her task is on the follow-up call task, is I could got the option there to leave her status as not started, but you could change that to in progress so you know you've attempted that follow-up call. So I can save that and that will keep that in my list. So this is how you can work through your tasks here, so in that little home page. Now scrolling down here, you'll have your last 4 or 5 searches. So you can see my BA contractors. I can click on that search from here. My PM or PD search as well is also listed there. So I can also access my searches from here or go to all search results in here. So the home page is a really nice page of seeing everything all together. Now back over on our tab here, let's go into that into slightly finer detail. So let's go first of all to our calendar. So this is your personal calendar in Adapt, or another nice place where you can go and see all of your appointments. So you can see clearly I've got my client visit here, I've got client visit on Thursday, and I've got a registration here on the Friday. Now, if I click onto the tasks here, it will give you a more full description and it will connect it to any records. So Davina is our candidate, so we can see her record card there. Now, if for any reason she calls and says, I can't make it at 10, can we make it 11? As long as that's okay with your contact, you can go and edit that from here and go and change any time or date from here. And that will also amend that in Davina's calendar as well. You've got an option here to look at today's view, a 5-day view, a week, or a month. And any of those, you can see at the moment we're on May, you can scroll through the calendar you're looking through or the option at the top. Now, if you have got you're a team leader or manager, you might want to review other team members' calendars. On the settings button here, if you click on that, it will show you that you're currently looking at your own calendar. But if you want, you can go and look at another user's calendar. So go and find your colleague's name and click on them, press a save, and it will show their calendar appointment. So it's a really nice way of keeping on top of what your team's up to. One little thing to mention on the calendar is there's a synchronize button. So what does this mean? So at the moment, we know if we make any appointments in Adapt, they automatically sync through to our Outlook calendar, but it doesn't work the other way around. So what you can do, and I recommend this when people first go on the system on their first day, is they come back here, go to synchronize on the calendar, and I would say that any of my appointments due in the next 6 months in my Outlook, I want them to pull over and come into my Adapt calendar. So if you start on that, that will pull any appointments from Outlook into your calendar. So it just stops you from double booking yourself. And last thing you can do is a new calendar event. So clicking on new event, you can go in there and create your own calendar appointment. Again, that will go through to your Outlook. You can put the subject title here, the start date. You can invite other users. So it can be other team members as well. And once you confirm that, that will send invites out to them and pop that in your calendar. So that's really the calendar in Adapt. Now I'm going to go back to my Adapt and I'm going to go back up to KPIs. Now Electus, I'm not sure if you guys are using KPIs or if you will use them in the system, but just to show you where they are if you're going to. Now first thing to remember is that you can set up teams in the system. So you might have your contract team, your perm team, or you might have individual teams within perm or contract, and they would be listed in here. So first of all, you can go and look at your team's KPIs, or you can go and look at your individual KPIs as a consultant. So I'd come to consultant and look for me, and then I would select the periods that I want to review. So I've got today, I've got this week, this month, this quarter, or the year. So how it works is KPIs are provided to us at Bonds. We key them in for you, all the targets, and then as you run through workflows in the system, you'll find that your activity count goes up and it changes the colour here. So let's have a little look at the kind of KPIs. So it's split between activity in sales and also recruitment. So we put typical things in sales like canvas calls, so your business development calls you're making, sending out spec CVs, bringing new candidates into the business, and also things like creating new jobs and client visits arranged. So it's kind of all new sales activity. Now you can see that targets have been set in here in this week's period, and as I go through and click on log a call and select canvas call or select something like client visit arranged, you'll see that my numbers go up. Now the colours, you can see I've got quite a bit too much red for my liking on here, and it's already Thursday, so I've got a bit of work to do. So anything on your target between 0 and 80% is red. Anything between 81 and 99% is at kind of a ambery, orangey, yellowy colour. And then anything that is from 100 onwards, you've hit your target. So you can see I've got 5 out of 5 here, 5 activity, 5 target, 100% is my target here, and I've achieved it, so I've got green. So you're aiming for that nice green colour. So that's how you can review your KPIs. Now there are reports and there are also studios that links your KPIs, so you can go on and review your activity and you can see it from other places as well. So it's a really big thing in the system if it's something you do want to use. So there's your KPIs in there. So we've had a look at the home page, we've reviewed KPIs and calendar. So we're now going to have a look at the journal. Now we know the journal already is a full list, like an audit trail of everything you've done in the system. So you can see down here I've got a page of 1 of 15 results of 161 pages. So there's a lot of information in there. And it's just going to do it in date order. So you can see date stamps, time stamps, and it's going to be only my thing because this is my journal. So the workflows will show, so candidate shortlist, and it will link it to all the different records it's linked to in the system. So you can see the contact, the candidate, the job. So it's linking those through. Now you can't delete anything in the journal. The idea is it is a journal trail, sorry, an audit trail, and it will show you everything in there, but you can add notes. So if you've done something on the shortlist there and forgot to add a note that's key, you can go and click on the little plus button and you can add in a note if you wish to. And that will link that to all the different records it's attached to. So that, if you wish, will appear on all these different records. So that's one thing really good to know in the journal. Now at the moment I might think, do you know what, I want a list of all my calls that I've made in the last month and I want to be able to see that list. But if I look here, I'm going to have to scroll through every single page to see them. Oh no, you don't. So you can create filters of different workflows. How you do this, you come over here, there's a little filter button, so click on that. You can select the dates you want to review. So I just want to see what I've been up to in May. So from May, I'm going to do that till the end of May. Now in the workflow name is where you go and select here and you would type in what you want to see. So I want to see the call made, but it will list everything you've done. So call made log, if I click on that and select it, I then just need to apply. And you can see I'm in a filter because it's orange. So you can see now I've got all my call made logged in here. So I've got 1 of 8 results. So I know that I've logged 8 calls in the month. So it's a really useful tool for consultants to be able to keep on top of the key things for you. So now if I want to keep a list like this, I can go to the filtered little tab here and I can save my current filter. So I can just call it all my calls made. Oh, hello. So all calls made. And I could put May if I want to and save it. Now, when I finish using that or reviewing in there, I can go back to my filter and just clear the workflow that I've reviewed. So I'm back to my normal journal. And then if I go to show all, you'll see that my views are all listed here. So if I ever want to go back and look at that call made, click on it. I can review it again. What I can also do is go back to the filter, and actually I might not want an end date in there. So I might want to delete that, so you can just delete it off, and then basically you can just open it up. So every time you log a call, it will add to this list. So that's how you can really use that journal quite effectively. Now going back to My Adapt, what else have we got to review? So we've got tasks in there. Now we've looked at the way that I probably would run tasks, but I'll just show you how it looks in here. Now what's quite important is when you first click in tasks, and if you do that while you're actually system testing, you'll see what I mean. So what you'll do is you'll come in here and you'll only have the priority level, and you'll also have the subject, but you won't have any of these notes. So it will look very much like this. I'll show you. It will look like this, just so you know what I mean. So that's how your system will look. Although why it's over here, it should be over on the left-hand side. So apologies for that. So let's try refreshing it. No, it's stuck like that. Okay, so it's not looking very good visually, but that it will be over on the left. It'll be a nice, clear columns. So what I'd recommend is that you go into the settings and you say, I want to see 30 tasks on one page. I want to see the full notes. I want to show links, so records it's linked to. Now, how do I want to prioritize my tasks? So I might want to see the start date, the date it's due, the completed date, and the alarm and percentage done. So now when I go to save, it shows my notes and it shows what it's linked to. And it shows all the dates in there as well. So to go and complete tasks, it's very similar. Go to a follow-up call to Ruth, click on the box, activities, and then you can go and complete. And you'll see it now says completed 100% and the completed date. What else can we do in our tasks here? So we can go in as well and we can delete tasks. So if you've got ones that are completed, you might want to clear those to make it nice and neat. So you can click on as many as you want, go to activities, and just delete those tasks. Now, one that I think is really, really key is that if somebody's off sick, you can go in and view them on the settings. So I'm looking at my tasks, but I might want to go and look at one of my team's task lists to make sure that we keep on top of what they were due to do today. Because it might be they've got a client visit and you don't want someone to not turn up at a client. So I would go and find the consultant that's off, click on their name and save, and then it will show a list of their tasks. Now when you see those, you can see the due date, and then you can go and click on the tasks that are due today and that are important, and go to activities and copy to user. This is a really key management tool. So you can copy over to another one of the consultants there, click on copy, and that will move a copy over. So you can just let them know, I've popped that into your queue, can you go and run that task today? So you can see how good that would be in task management. So last thing, you can create your own task. So if there's something you want to remember to do, this is why it's so important to run things through Adapt, because you can really use this to your advantage. So what you could do in this top bar here, you could add in something like, I can't think of anything now. I don't know. Let's do, probably wouldn't use that, so I'm just going to say add task. I can't think of a specific example, but I can add a task in there. So what I could do is if you click on show advanced options, that will be where I can create my task. I can make a due date of today or tomorrow. I can do a time. Oh no, I can't do a time, sorry. I can do a status of not started yet. I can add a reminder if I want to, but I'm not going to. I can link it to other things, so it could be linked to a candidate or it could be linked to a client. And then once I'm happy with that, I can just add it. And then I can hide the advanced options, and that will take me back to my list. So you'll be able to see your task on there. So you can see my add task button there. So that's how you can add a task on. So I hope that helps with your task management. The last thing actually is that tasks that are in your Outlook already, again, you can go and synchronize those and add them over and pull them from Outlook back to Adapt. Now we've done the kind of diary management stuff. So we've looked at calendar, journal and tasks. But now we're getting to the really good stuff. So let's click on to My Studios. Now I'm going to come back to what is a studio. So it is like a live dashboard of information. So where you'll log in each day, you'll be straight away on this all open jobs page. And what it will list is it will list all contract jobs you're working on. If we scroll down, any temp jobs you're working on as well, and any perm jobs that you're working on. So let's have a little look at what it lists here. So in all of those contract jobs, I've got 19 jobs that we've got with the company at the moment, so we can see that on there. Now, if we want to narrow that down, so this is with a company, I can narrow it down by how many jobs per team, or more importantly, in consultant, if I was a consultant, I'd go and find my name on there, select it, and it will just show the jobs that you're working on. So you can quite clearly see what you've got on and what you've got to place. Now down here we've got categories, so I can see the job, the client, and the contact as well. We've got the start date of the job, and we've got actions we can do. So on the drop down here, you can come in and you can log calls to your contact. You can also run any emails from here as well. And you notice that any jobs you can also close. So when you close it will remove that straight away from this dashboard or this studio. And any jobs that you go and add on like we did earlier, it will add straight onto the studio. So just picture each day you come in, straight away comes to the studio and you can see exactly what jobs that you're working on. So I'm going to show you, if I scroll down to the open perm jobs part, what I've done on here is I've gone and find just my job. So I've got one perm job that I'm working on. So it's an administrator role. And if we go down here and scroll, you've got your options on here. Now, coming to the plus button on here, I'm not currently working with anyone on this job. But if I was, it would list them here. So let me just show you. So if I click on the job, I'm just going to shortlist someone to this job just to show you how it looks. And this will really show you how key it is to use those studios and how great they are. They're really going to make your lives a lot easier. So I'm just going to add someone to the shortlist just so we can start having a look through. Right, so ignore that part for a moment. So if we go back to our studio, it's going a little bit slow there. So scroll down. So I'm going to go back to our permanent studio. So when I drop on that plus button there, that will show me any candidates that are linked to this job that I've started working with. So whether they're at shortlist stage, like I've just done with Thompson, whether they're at interview stage, whether they're offer made stage, any stage they're at, and all of the candidates that I'm working with on the job, even if they've been rejected, will be listed from the job on that little cross button. Now, not only does it show the stage and the candidate name, but I can go and run any of my actions now, log calls or send messages or texts to my candidate from here. So I can do all my communications on the studio. Also, from the drop down here, you'll notice that Thompson's at shortlist stage. Now on the drop down, I can go and run any of the workflows that I showed you guys earlier from the drop down. So I can go now send his CV over to my contact just by clicking a button there. I can arrange the interview just by clicking on the interview button from there. So from the studio, you can run all those workflow actions just as we did before, or I can even reject him. So you can show that you can do all your call logging. I can go through and send CVs from here. I can arrange interviews. So you can see how great this tool will be. Now also there's a little arrow from here, and that if you click on that, that gets rid of those filters, so it gives you a bit more room. You also have a little collapse sidebar button. That gives you more room. So all these nice little things in the system just help set you up. Now from the drop down arrow, you'll see here I can print or export to Excel. So a lot of you might have morning meetings you've got with your manager or team leader or just together. You can go and export from here or print from here, and you can just come along and say, these are the jobs that I'm currently working on. And it will show you a nice list of things there. So you've got all that key information. Now on the right hand side here, I've got systems 14. So that's 14 different studios you can work from. So here you've got one that you've got business development studios. So you can add on lead jobs. We can cover that in the training. So if you guys are really heavy with things like business development and bringing in new jobs into the company, you can have studios where you can just sit in there and work on BD, whether it's contract jobs, perm or temp. You'll also notice that, say for example, you only work on contract, you might want to come in here and just work in the contract desk only. So just down here, you'll be in contract desk or in contract revenue. Now, nearly all of these are linked to jobs, but you can see here I've got one linked just to candidates. So if we click on the new candidate studio, I'll just show you how it looks. Now in here, we've got 3 new candidates. So again, you've got your filters, so teams, consultants, candidate type. So I might just want to look for my perm candidates that are in. When were they registered? We've got the last 7 days, 14 days, etc. So you can list by that. Now, it lists their name. You've also got drop down from here where you can log phone calls, log texts, send a text as well, send an email. You've got the option on any of the studios, you can change the criteria that you're looking through. So you can reformat these columns. So clicking on the 0 over here on the drop down, this is the kind of different things you can see in the studio, and they are different on every single one. So when I look at my new candidates, I want to see their name, useful. So double clicking, that moves that over to the right, and that's what I'll see. I also might want to see their current job title, their contact number, their email, and also I might want to see different things like, you've got a really good one on here which I can't see, which is source. Where's it gone? That's strange. Oh, original source. So you might find out, where am I hearing from my candidates or hearing about them? So then clicking on the tick, that will show you the columns that you want to see. So in here, different things you can do. Main things you want to do with new candidates is either shortlist that candidate to a specific job, send out their CV on spec, so set them up with a client of yours, reject them if you think they're actually not suitable for any roles you put them forward for, or they're new in. And do you remember earlier we started doing those searches and we were saving those results? What you can do from the studio is click from here, go to add to search result. So I might have spoken to Peter, got him in, and I thought, you know what? He is a brilliant BA and I want to add him to my BA contractors list. So if you tick that, you can find all your search results in here that you've done. Confirm, and that will just straight away just add him onto that list. Love that. It's a really new feature. So they're all the kind of things you can do in that studio. Now scrolling down a bit further, I'm going to show you a bit about the perm side. And it's very much the same as the contract, except it's got one extra desk. So perm desk, clicking on that, we'll just show you in here at the very bottom, it's separated into 3 separate parts. So the bottom one is the same as we saw before on the all open jobs, which is all open perm jobs. So that's all listing all those jobs you're working on there. Now, as you scroll up, you'll see any candidates that you've submitted their CV will be listed in here, and it will show the status of where they are. And again, you've got all your workflow options, so interview, rejecting or placing. And at the top, this is another really key one, is you can see what candidates you've got out client interview. So you can see listed all future interviews, or you can narrow down to next 7 days or next 14 days. It will tell you what stage you're at. And do you remember all those workflow options like the feedback, logging calls, amending interviews, attending interviews, rejecting or placing? You can do all your workflows from here. So that's a great place to come and see exactly where your candidates are at. Now, next studio down, this is going to show everything that's on a live job. The next one is your forecasting. So it's also on live jobs. And what this will do is in the forecasting part of the studio, if we come down here and click on update performance, so first of all, you want to go and find the jobs you're working on or your team is working on. You then will click on update performance. And if you come down to the performance part of the studio, go to the drop down and go to refresh. This will show you the number of interviews you're working on, the number of jobs you're working on. Mine's not working effectively because it should be 21 jobs because it's 21 here. And what it will do is it will show you the potential fees that you can bring in if you were to place and fill all of those jobs. So it's great in there because you can go in and say, if I get all these jobs in, I can meet my targets. The last studio, so that's kind of your forecasting, is your perm placement. So clicking on that there, first of all, it's great that you can go and see all those people you placed into jobs, and you can scroll by date. So when all the people I placed in May or June or for the year. And again, you can go to update performance at the top. Comes the performance part, arrow down and go to refresh, and it will show you your total fees that you've brought in between the dates that you put in. So you can use this system to not only see what jobs you're working on and work through them through to placing or rejecting, but you can come in and forecast how much you could make and see how much you actually have brought in. So you can see how you can use these studios for so many different things. The last thing I'm going to show you in studios is, if it lets me, we'll scroll back to the top. You've got all these 14 studios and you can choose to use them or not, and you might have your favorite ones on there. But you might look at them and think, do you know what? I want to see my new candidates, but I want to see my new candidates and compared to a list of all of my open jobs in one place. So yep, you guessed it, you can build your own studio. So if we hover on this little cross button, you can see creating a studio. So clicking on that, this now gives you 3 extra icons. Now the second one down, you can pick how you want your studio to look. So do you want a one bit of information so it's nice and clear? Do you want to compare 2 things? I'll show you my favorite and you'll see why. So I always use this 3 bars across. Now the third icon down is where you'll go in and select what's called widgets of information. So this is where you've got things like activity versus target. So activity is your KPIs versus the targets in the system. So you could put that in there. You can see candidate submittals. You can see client interviews. Got lots of different things. You've got revenue versus target. So if that's been set in the system as well. So I'm going to build my own studio. So the first thing I want to see on my dashboard is my activity versus my target. So I click and drag and drop that over. That will show my studio in here. Now I don't think I've got any targets put in, but I'll try. So the things I might want to see, if I click on metrics here, it will show me all those KPI targets, so I can look at the ones I'm focused on. So I might be focused really heavily on BD, so Canvas calls, things like client interviews, client visits, CV sent. Specking might be a big one of mine, so I'm going to go and look for spec CV sent. So you can see how you double click and it moves it to the right, and then the things you want to see you tick, and it will show me. So I can either group information per team, or I can do it per consultant and then go and find my consultant in there. And it will show the targets that they've got versus what they've actually done so far. And look at this week, month, quarter, or previous, which is also really effective as well. Another really nice thing in here, helps when you've actually got targets in there, but from the drop down I can see horizontal bar charts. So if you're quite a visual person, and a lot of people are, it's nice in this studio to come in and have in here bar graphs of your actual annual targets and listed here. So they'll be listed across. So I love that. So I'd probably set that studio up first of all, or that widget. Once you're happy with that, you can minimize it so it's nice and tidy. So the next thing I might want to see in there is my new candidates. So if I click on that and drag it across, again, spend some time putting in the columns you want to see, like I showed you earlier. Go and filter how you want to, and then minimize. I then might want to see all my open perm jobs or contract, depending. So they'll both be in there. So if I go to open perm and click and drag that across, I can see open perm jobs there. Again, set it up how you want and minimize. So you can see how you can build it up and see exactly what you want to. Once you've done that, you can do as many as you want and drag them across. You can rename that studio anything you want to. So I'm going to call that Michelle's Perm Desk. When I click back up to the top, and that shows my full list of studios, when we scroll up, you'll see that is listed here. So any ones that you build yourself are at the top, so you can just come and click on these, and you can do as many studios as you want. Now, final little tip on here, really nice things. Not only can you print from here, but you can build what you want. From the drop down here, you'll see that you can change the colors of your studio. This, ladies and gents, sometimes blows people's minds. Who doesn't like a bit of color though? So you can come in here and you can change the border of the studio. And you can change the caption text color. So I can pick whatever color I want for my studio, change the text color. Actually, that's a little bit, no, we want the text color to be maybe black rather than white on that one. There you go. And you can go in and change all those colors in there. So you could have what colors could mean things to people. So you could have client interviews equals red. You could have CV sent is green. So come in here and build up as many studios as you want, and then change the colors and really make them your own. This is what I love about Adapt, is that you can make the system yours. Last thing on studio. So I've built my studio here. On that final icon, if I want to, I can share the studio with all the people on my team, or it could be just with my resourcer, or it could be with whoever I want. So you just click on the people that you want to be able to see the studio, and then when they refresh and come back to the top, at the very bottom, below those 14 system generated ones that will all appear, you will see here, they will see Michelle's perm desk will be listed here. So not only can you build them, manage your jobs through that and your people, but you can also share those studios. So I think you get the gist. So if when you've got time, guys, if you have, I'd come and have a little look on those studios. Really, really good tool. So last two things we're going to look at is reports. So in the reports tab, go to reports at the top. Now this will list all the different reports that you can get in Adapt, and you can use these at any time. Mine seems to have got stuck there. Let's try and give it a little refresh. So I'm not going to run through all these different reports. I'm just going to point some bits out to you. So it will give you the report name on the left and the description. So a really nice one for you guys is going to be contractors out working. So you'll be able to go and look at that. So you can just click on that report. Pop in the dates that you want to review. You can link it to a particular, just one client that you want to see all their particular contractors working there. You can link it to team. You can group it by your consultants, or by client, or by start date of the job. And then confirming, and that will just build up your report for you. So you just simply need to go and add criteria in. I don't have any data on contractors at the moment, so why I can't actually show you that report. But let's build one you can see. Now, the important reports, or the most popular, are performance related ones. So again, we've spoken about KPIs. You can come in and see activity analysis in here. So if we click on that particular report, actually I've got no KPIs, have I? Let's try phone call analysis. So I can click on that at any time. Say that I want to review calls, let's just say from the 1st of May till today. I can group or sort by call type, client or dates, but I'm not going to group it at all or sort it. I'm going to leave that simple. So confirming, you can see just in a second that my phone call analysis report's been built. It will tell me what information it's been built on. It will show me under here all of your contact calls. So your contacts that you're calling, or your clients, it will list those calls, and it will show the consultant that's called them, the time of the call, the date, and what call type. Is it call made, call received, or canvas call? You've then got on here candidate calls. So these are all the calls to the candidate, and it will show those through in date order, time order, and the call type as well. So if you want a kind of more complex report or more detailed, you could go in, group it by consultant, and it will list each consultant individually alphabetically and show you all of their contact and their candidate calls. So this is just how you build a report. Just go in, put in that criteria. You've got some really powerful ones in there, like the client league table. So once you start working with clients, that will show the key clients in how much revenue they brought in for you. Oh, losing my voice there, sorry. You've got in there analytics, you've got activity analysis like KPIs, etc. So I would come in, put some data in, and start looking at those reports. Last thing to show you here would be Adapt UX and the help page. Now, it's not as important when you're just kind of practicing on the system, key data, that kind of thing, but just to tell you where it is, you'll see there's the Adapt UX help page. And in here, this will link you to the manual, the full user guide, so you can review that at any time. That might really help you when you're doing system testing and working on the system. And then also, just for future use, I'm sure you'll get reminded of this in training. We produce something every single week called a tip of the week, and we pull a little bit from that user guide and send you over a one-page tip and let you know something new about the system that you might never have seen. Now, to see all those tips, you can click on here and go at the top. I will just click on Adapt Tip of the Week up here. And this is actually really going to be really useful for you guys. So you'll see here listed from 1 to whichever number we're on now. I've got how do I import an email? How do I run pay run? How do I use QuickBook? What even is QuickBook? Arranging a client visit, how to send a studio. So all these different things are listed in here. So anytime you can go and review those, and it'll be the same in your live system. So thank you, Electus. I've enjoyed doing those full webinars for you. They'll all be sent over by your account manager. You can use them again and again, so it should really help with you system testing and getting ready for your live system. And again, even when you get on the live system, it'll be really useful for you, I hope. You can pause them, review them. If you've got any questions, let us know. But good luck with everything. Thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure.